At UIC Center for the Advancement of Teaching and Learning Communities, affectionately known as TLC, the work of teaching is celebrated for what it is: complex, labor-intensive, empowering, liberating, gratifying for teachers and for students. TLC's Master Teaching Scholars do not only mentor their peers, the TLC teaching scholars, and help them innovate, they also devote time, energy, and passion to innovate and invigorate their own teaching. In this video case, we present one example of such innovative teaching by TLC Master Teaching Scholar Jerry Gorman, faculty in the Department of Health System Sciences in the College of Nursing. Jerry engaged her students in researching and performing, along with other faculty and other nursing practitioners, the life and accomplishments of a nursing leader and human rights activist, Anne Larson Zimmerman. In so doing, Anne's life became a beacon for nursing students and practitioners in search of the embodiment of professional integrity and valor and the continued construction of their nursing identities. As Etienne Wenger wrote almost 30 years ago, it is in the formation of an identity that learning can become a source of meaningfulness and of personal and social energy. You will get a feel for the nature, significance, and impact of this teaching innovation from excerpts of conversations with students and with Jerry, and from the performance itself, which can be found on UIC's College of Nursing website. This project epitomizes the power of interdisciplinary collaboration to enhance teaching and the potential of partnerships between faculty and students to generate meaningful learning as both knowledge and identity construction. The opening and closing refrain of the performance captures, I believe, the essence of authentic teaching and leadership. The final line in Phil Oakes's ballad, "When I'm Gone," expresses a conviction: I guess I have to do it while I'm here. This sense of urgency should also permeate teaching and learning. We cannot hold back, not wait for the ideal time to act. Rather, we must nurture our students' desire to do it while they are here at UIC, here at this moment in time, here in their lives and in their families' lives, here in our communities.
And I won't be running from the rain when I'm gone, and I can't even suffer from the pain when I'm gone. Can't say who's to praise and who's to blame when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't see the golden of the sun when I'm gone, and the evenings and the mornings will be one when I'm gone. Can't be singing louder than the guns when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here.
We do a poor job with incorporating history into our curriculum. We have a couple of hours maybe at best, and that's obviously inadequate. And I think that this project really reinforced the importance of doing that, how meaningful it can be. I mean, not just in terms of giving you facts and names, but really touching and inspiring people in a very deep way. Our educational momentum and thrust is so relentlessly forward moving. We have to keep up with all the new things that are happening, whether it's new technology or new databases or new ways to source information. And it becomes more and more of a struggle to both look inward and to look backward. And I think if we don't do those two things, we're really missing. We're missing a lot of what it means to be human, as well as what it means to be a knowledgeable and a compassionate person.
Midrash is defined as the process of interpretation by which rabbis filled in gaps found in the Torah. It is a literature that seeks to ask the questions that lie on the tips of our tongues and to answer them even before we have posed them. In what follows, we, a collection of nurses and nursing students, offer a midrash on the life of Anne Zimmerman.
Where did the performance come from?
I think the performance, I mean, I can't say for sure, there wasn't like one moment where I thought, no, this has to be a performance. But I think that the idea just sort of evolved from the fact that Anne spent so much of her life upholding and supporting nurses and nursing students in so many different areas that the idea of having it be a collective, like a nursing collective coming together, it just seems so much more authentic and right than just trying to write a straight biography of her life, which still should be written, but this seems like it really, and that would also seems like it would be a way of disseminating her life and her legacy in a much more vibrant way than just having it on paper.
We are living neath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in this stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship the ground we walk on, cherishing the beams that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side.
Program and kind of missing that aspect, the creative aspect, of life and looking for it in other places. But it shouldn't be that way because, nursing is kind of where like science and art meet, and so depicting that aspect of it is so important because that's what nursing is all about. It's about community and the creativity.
About doing this, but this was like 2 years ago
Yeah.
already,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. Course with you, or it was community health, I think, and then you like pulled me and a few people aside, and you were like, I know you have sort of like arts background, like I feel like this last semester or last year I've had has been mostly online courses, but the courses that before that I took that were a classroom with you, I feel like that's when I really, because you would talk about Anne and you would talk about nursing sort of historical figures, and we weren't really, it's important to get that sort of context, and I think you said it in the play also, or like you can't even understand whose shoulders you're standing on, and to like really, learn about that from you, otherwise, because we wouldn't have heard it otherwise. That's something you have to learn on your own about the unions and the whole, everything of like all these people that we just take for granted that they set up a standard for us as nurses. And now being a nurse, I really do think about that so much more. I'm like, I'm working in a hospital that's not unionized, and it's so frustrating to me, and all these things that I like can put into practice. But in terms of our classes, like I think your class, you really did kind of lay the players out and say, make sure to integrate that too. These are the people who came before you that are important, and that we should ultimately be grateful for.
While Anne was a student, 3 powerful earthquakes shook Helena, destroying sections of the hospital. Anne teamed up with an ambulance attendant, and together they planned patient evacuation. She always credited that experience as beginning her long career as an organizer. In the mid-1990s, the healthcare industry burned with acquisition fever. One casualty was the Visiting Nurses Association, that proud network of care born of the progressive era social reforms in the early 1900s. The nurses provided care to society's most vulnerable and marginalized. VNAs flourished for most of the 20th century. Our VNA, the last in Chicago, was in the throes of a forced takeover by a powerful healthcare conglomerate. A small group of nurses attempted to organize to preserve our identity.
For our first contract, we threatened to walk, but we never had to. But we had lots of meetings on how to care for patients if we did have to go on strike. 2 years later, for our second contract, we did have to walk out, but we made sure there was adequate coverage, and there always was. No issues, no deaths, but it was very hard. The doctors joined us on the picket line. Ann Zimmerman was with us all the way.
Anne focused on making things better for both the nursing profession and for patients. She believed that listening to the bedside nurse provided the most important information to better patient care.
As I come to in my funnel, part of my nursing program, to have that be a part of it was really, it kind of brought a lot of things together for me and helped me kind of have a clarity of vision for what I want, the course of my career as a nurse to look like. And it gave me a really beautiful kind of vision for what that can look like, because of the example of all these nurses that we were able to depict. So
she believed in hope. She would think this project is a step in the right direction for young nurses.
I've been wanting to develop my voice, like my own kind of rhetoric, I guess, for nursing and for myself, and so that was part of the reason why I, was right away like, yeah, let's do it, because I wanted to use my voice in a way that was positive and just project something that was important.
She always had great support from minority nurses groups. They knew how long and hard she had worked for them. Her involvement with the Catholic Interracial Council testified to her commitment.
Many nurses of color worked with the Board of Health, and Anne had represented them in negotiations with Mayor Daley. When she decided to run for the ANA presidency, they held a big garage sale to raise money for her campaign. Anne said those were the kind of things one never forgets.
How can you go where you need to go or know where you're going if you don't know where you came from? Like, this woman was so a trailblazer in nursing. It's important that people know about her in order to feel like confident in their own field. I felt really, really confident in the play, because there's a part in the play where it talks about how she was very influential in colored nursing, for colored nurses, was an advocate for them. So knowing that there's people in the field or were in the field who wanted me here, because just being a woman of color in nursing here at UIC, I don't see it, people who always look like me. So sorry, I'm crying, but that meant a lot to me, being in this project and knowing that she was an activist in this area, and people like me supported her and identified with her, and I think that that's really important to have and to know and remember we're all in this together.
In Montgomery and in Selma, in the streets of Birmingham, the people sent a message to the leaders of the land. We have fought and we have suffered, but we know the wrong from right. We are family, we are neighbors, we are black and we are white. Here I go, bound for freedom. May my truth take the lead. Not the preacher, not the Congress, not the millionaire, but me. I will organize for justice. I will raise my voice in song, and our children will be free to lead the world and carry on.
Well, I'm in my last semester now, and so I was kind of doing this project, this summer and then this fall, as I'm kind of at a point in my education where I am thinking kind of how do I apply all this, what am I going to do with all this? I think I've already talked about how it provided a much needed creativity part, but also kind of this kind of engagement, this political part of it, this nursing leadership. I had a course on nursing leadership, which, was a fine course, but this is that in action, and so seeing just the importance of having nurse leaders and having engagement politically, socially, being part of professional organizations, all these things that are so necessary, because nursing is at a very interesting point right now, and we are getting more, nursing is going to be used more and more in the future, to provide health care, better, more efficiently, all these things. And so we really need to have a voice as, in all these conversations that are made around healthcare reform and healthcare changes. And so just really for me, it was a call to action, because I can tend to, just go in my own little private, space, but to engage, to stay engaged, to be involved politically, and to try to, become and support nursing leaders.
I hear it said that what nursing lacks is leadership. I believe instead that our leadership needs leadership. Too many of our leaders have tunnel vision. Too many have settled for being big fish in little ponds. The problem is not that we lack leadership, it is that we lack politically astute leadership. Leaders who understand that serious disruption of the entire profession is too high a price to pay for a particular idea at a particular time. Leaders who understand that the whole of nursing is more important than any of its parts. Leaders who understand that the denigration of any nursing organization or of any kind or level of nursing is a denigration of the entire profession. My professor be writing a play, obviously that made me look at her differently and sort of think about, how also our teachers have dynamic backgrounds and, can also help, relate to us in that way. But I think just side by side doing a performance with people who are, like Jocelyn, like I think of her, I know she's faculty, but I also just think of her as a nurse, like just as a nurse, because she isn't really in school anymore, and she, and so she's just so experienced. Like I remember I had her one day, I worked with her in the hospital, I was like, wow, this woman just is a wealth of knowledge as a nurse and so experienced. And so it just felt like it was all, like as a nursing student, as nurses, as teachers, to all come together and be in this, all be nervous and all be in this performance together. We're like all on the same level, and that was just so cool because you never get that. You just are always, as a student or as a nurse, you just always know your role, but this sort of just erase those lines and we're all doing something together.
It made me so proud to have chosen to be a nurse. I'm just so proud. Because there's been times in my education where I have doubted that decision, to be sure, and this just made me so proud and so just happy and so grateful that I have chosen to be a nurse, just seeing all these amazing nurses around me and seeing all of you, there and perform and create, I was just, I guess, proud and humbled as well. Humbled just to be a part of such a talented, group that cares so much about making a difference,
We were there in the factories, we were there in the mills, we were there in the mines, and came home to fix the meals. We were there on the picket lines, we raised our voices loud. It makes me proud, just knowing we were there. We have plowed and we have planted, we have gathered into barns, done the same work as a man, with babies in our arms. But you won't find our stories in most history books you read. We were there, we're still here, fighting for the things we need. From the textile mills in Lawrence to the sweatshops in New York, from the fields in California where our children had to work. We fought to make a living, bread and roses was our cry. Though they jailed and beat our bodies, our spirits never died. We were there in the factories, we were there in the mills, we were there in the mines, and came home to fix the meals. We were there on the picket lines, we raised our voices loud. It makes me proud, just knowing we were there.
I don't know, it really touches you. And I think that it really touched everybody that was involved, the audience, the players, everybody. So yeah, art's so important, I think, for self-care for nurses and for patients.
Yeah.
We were doing that when we first decided to get on board. We were doing art projects with some of our patients that we were seeing on the south side. Yeah. And that was a really beautiful experience, and it kind of just segued. It just brought us right to this project.
It did.
I guess it's important for us to tell our own story. Everyone wants to have a voice and everyone wants to be heard. And just the facts that it was written by nurses, performed by nurses, for nurses, we were telling our own story. And the play was about Anne, but it was also about all she did for the profession of nursing and how great of an advocate she was for nursing. And so even though we were telling her story, it was almost partly like telling our story. Why am I involved? Why is this important to me? Because her values and her teaching, they're just as important to me, and things that I want to, express and share.
Being a student can be a very individualized, it can be just so like individual centric. You were saying that we're not getting paid for this, we're not getting a degree for this, and it's unfortunate that sometimes just being a student just makes you see things as, what am I going to get out of this? Yes. Your time becomes so valuable that it's all about, if I'm not going to get something out of this, then I'm not doing it. And it's all about you. Because to some extent it has to be, because we're all so busy trying to get a degree, but that it takes away a lot of what makes life worth living, which is, it's not about what am I going to get out of this, and like what is this doing for me and my career and my education. It's about bigger things than that. So.
As a new nurse, I've been a nurse now for 6 months, and it is so much of sort of an acting role to go into a room with a complete stranger who's in their most vulnerable. And for me, half the time I'm pretending like I know what I'm doing, and I don't, So it's just looking alive, looking confident. And as someone who came from a theater background, I love integrating those things, but you can't deny that they're intertwined. And I completely agree that in school, it's like there's a lack of that, and it creates something, and it makes you a more dynamic person, I think, than just regurgitating information.
Because when I watched, I thought this is important, not just for the performance, but also I thought, we should be doing this with nursing students before you go into your clinical rotation, before you take tests. It was very empowering, and we don't think about standing up there and throwing our voices and claiming our space in the ways that we should. So I thought that was really interesting. And just a reminder again how much we have to learn from one another, and what a shame it is that we are as isolated, not just nursing, but all of the departments across the university. We would be so much richer if we spent more time in interdisciplinary activities and conversation.
There's no place in this world where I belong when I'm gone, and I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone, and you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it. I guess I'll have to do it. I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. My days won't be dances of delight when I'm gone, and the sands will be shifting from my side